Hello, good evening, and thanks so much for joining us for the news. We are live on your all news channel GBC24 and a GTV. My name is Akpene Avo Ajaja.
I'm Gifty AJ, and now the headlines. A government secures World Bank grant to address water crisis.
Also in this bulletin, President John Mahama swears in 7 ministers approved by Parliament.
Gianni Infantino elected new FIFA president.
And 5 African leaders in Burundi to engage in peace talks.
Now the stories. The Minister for Water Resources, Works and Housing says the government has secured a grant from the World Bank to address the current water crisis in the country. On Parliament on Friday, Dr. Kweku Agyeman-Manu told the lawmakers that his ministry has also instituted a flagship project that seeks to improve the quality of water supply.
In Sawamadrejuri, Winneba and Esikuma are among the list of communities hit by the water shortage. The minister's briefing centered on the long and short-term measures adopted to avert the perennial water shortage facing parts of the country.
According to the Minister for Water Resources, Works and Housing, Mr. Kweku Agyeman-Manu, assessment of the surface water resources available in the country, including all rivers, indicates that the average annual volume of water in the country is 54 billion cubic meters per year. Out of this, over 6 billion gallons are internally generated, while the remaining gallons are contributed by neighboring countries such as Togo, Burkina Faso and Ivory Coast. He said groundwater is also available except for some cases of pollution and areas with high levels of iron, fluoride and other minerals. The Minister for Water Resources, Works and Housing, Dr. Kweku Manu, briefed the lawmakers on measures adopted by the ministry to address the current water crisis in some parts of the country.
The ministry, in collaboration with other stakeholders, is adopting measures to address the situation. Some of these include enforcing compliance of regulations, implementation of the buffer zone policy, creating public awareness and sensitization, promoting school monitoring activities, implementation of the Water Use Regulation LI 1692, and promoting climate resilience and adaptation techniques.
He said government has secured a grant from the World Bank to deal with any shortages in future.
This project is being funded with a loan from the World Bank. The project is to improve access, water and sanitation for about 600,000 people in the Upper West, Upper East, Northern, Rongahafo, Central and Western regions.
The Member of Parliament for Sawamadrejuri, Frank Anodompre, urged the ministry to be proactive in their quest to improve water supply and provide quality water for all. The MP for Keta, Richard Kwashiga, also drew the attention of the minister to some towns in the constituency that have not had water supply over a decade now.
At the time we met them, the ministry didn't even have equipment to drill boreholes across the country, and they had to follow national security. Yes, we are all happy the national security came to our aid, and we are happy about it. But I'm saying that fundamentally something is missing.
Small town water projects in the Volta region. I was expecting that the Kata constituency will be mentioned, in that the people of Anyako, Konu, Sava, and Kaji have yet for the past 9 to 10 years not have access to potable water. And I've had the occasion to raise this matter on the floor.
Now, water shortage has hit 2 districts in the central region. The regional manager of the Ghana Water Company, Mr. Emmanuel Kofi Poku, is therefore appealing to the residents of Winneba and Esikuma to exercise restraint since steps are being taken to address the situation.
Residents within the Winneba and Esikuma townships and its surroundings trek miles in search of water due to the dry up of the 2 main rivers there, Ayensu and Setrehemang. According to the Ghana Water Company, The situation has hit a crisis stage where production of water has dropped from 10,000 cubic tons per day to 3,000. The Central Regional Manager of the water company, Mr. Kofi Poku, also blamed the situation on illegal mining, sand winning and farming along the river banks. He called on all stakeholders to help the water company to stop these activities since it is affecting production and operations of the company.
We ration water to one half of the city, and then on the second day, we also ration to the other half of the city. And the fire service also assists, and some private tankers draw water from our network as we drew to support what we are producing. We know it is inadequate, but we've also informed the general public to economize on the use of water, to use water wisely, since we don't have enough for every household.
The MCE for Efutu Municipality, Francis Ayikwe Tego, said the assembly has adopted measures to ease the pressure on the community.
They've brought pumping machine from Cape Coast, trying to draw water from upstream to fill the catchment area. We are hoping that if the water level at the catchment area is improved, we'll be able to pump water to Winneba municipality for a longer period of time than what we are experiencing now.
The district managers at Winneba and Esikuma, David Foley Asima and John Bandele, who took the news team round the production sites and the rivers, spoke about some of the causes and ways of mitigating the water challenge.
Water is getting to the people, but only that the pressure is not, good enough to get to the either high pressure zones.
Humans should have a change of attitude, because all these are causes of the way we live. Felling of trees around water bodies prevents the water from being accumulated, and it dries up in no time. I hope this will go down well with Ghanaians so that we all help for our future to be sustainable with water supply.
Some of the residents spoke to GBC24 about their plight and appealed to authorities to find a lasting solution to the water crisis.
Transformer, ye wo ha ye de jona aspect o mo bia wa ona na mi ya nsu do wo
ye nante na ya ba aha pumping station ha na ya ba benyu nsu ka enu kwa time so be na dom wo so
ye nya nsu enum ye nya nsu papa enware ama ntontom no nso aba ha kese.
Now, President John Mahama has sworn in a set of 7 ministers following a partial cabinet reshuffle at the beginning of the year. The 7 includes Mr. Douglas Prosper Barney, the President's first Chief of Staff, whose new portfolio is the Interior Ministry.
Cabinet reshuffles under President John Mahama have been few and far between. New ministerial nominations by the President at the beginning of the year took many by surprise. 7 of his nominees, approved by Parliament, were sworn into office by the President at a ceremony. Douglas Prosper Barney is the new Interior Minister, having been Chief of Staff for 2 years before being moved to his current portfolio. The other appointees are Edwin Nielante Vanderpoy, Youth and Sports; Kweku Ricketts Hagan, Central Region; Mavis Ama Frimpong, Eastern Region; John Alexander Akon, Ashanti Region; Abdallah Bubakari, Northern Region; and Albert Abongo, Upper East Region. The President said these are appointees well acquainted with public service. He advised them to be modest and deliver in the interest of the people.
A lot of you are going as regional ministers, and so you are going to be heads of the regional security councils. And this is especially in a sensitive year in which we have an election. In election years, we have to heighten security and make sure that our people are able to express their will in a peaceful and safe manner. And so I'll expect you to be even-handed, to give the Electoral Commission all the support it deserves, to be able to coordinate the security organizations so that this country remains peaceful and calm before, during, and after the election.
Mr. Prosper Barney spoke on behalf of his colleagues.
We, on our part, pledge that we will deliver to our responsibilities as he has directed. And we will stand by day and night to his call to respond to any challenges or directives that he may give. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
4 out of the 7 sworn into substantive positions by the president were previously deputy ministers.
Let's move to the Ashanti region now. The National House of Chiefs says if the winner-takes-all governance system continues, then it will be difficult for the 40-year development plan being proposed by the National Development Planning Commission to be implemented. The Omahin of Asokore traditional area, Nana Professor Krobia Asante, made the observation when officials of the National Development Planning Commission, led by its chairman, Professor Kwesi Botri, met with members of the National House of Chiefs in Kumasi.
The National Development Planning Commission was established under Articles 86 and 87 of the 1992 Constitution. The NDPC operates through a number of committees to provide a long-term development vision for Ghana. The officials of the NDPC were in the House to brief members and also solicit views and inputs into the 40-year National Development Plan. A member of the House and Omanhini of Aguna in Ashanti, Nana Anoche Abebio, said the development of the long-term plan is long overdue.
The plan would therefore serve as a holistic basis for the assessment of performance of successive governments and thereby reduce the politicization of our development process.
The Director General of the NDPC, Dr. Nimoy Thompson, said the introduction of the 40-year development plan will never render political party manifesto meaningless. It will, however, support political parties to prepare their plans and programs in line with national plan to avoid duplication of functions.
The plans will actually serve as the basis for political parties to prepare their manifestos and also give the public a basis for measuring the performance of successive governments within the context of the long-term national development plan.
Dr. Thompson said infrastructure development, including roads and rail transport, will be given priority. Ghana's population is expected to hit 50 million in the next 40 years, and this places a huge challenge on how to provide adequate goods and services to meet demands of the time. The chairman of the NDPC, Professor Kwesi Botri, noted that a plan will never be complete without the views and inputs of chiefs who are the custodians of culture, tradition and land.
The sustainability of the plan through the vicissitudes of political transition, one government after the other, will depend in part on what the law says as regards the binding effect of the plan, but even more importantly, on the buy-in of the people that Nananum you lead.
Now back to the capital, Accra. The Deputy Minister for Education, Mr. Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, says a government will continue to support the Tamale, Cape Coast, Wa and Bolgatanga polytechnics to transition into universities. This comes on the heels of the transition of 6 polytechnics into technical universities beginning in the 2016-2017 academic year.
Do hereby swear in the name of the Almighty God.
The 5 newly elected executives are Mr. Emmanuel Ajiman as president, Mr. Daniel Osabute as the vice president, Mr. David Wawi Brown as the general secretary, Mr. Kenneth Fiati as the organizer, and Mr. Peter Ahinfo as the treasurer. The outgoing president of POTAC, Mr. James Dugra, advised the new members to be united and be disciplined to help them achieve the greater success of the association. The newly sworn-in president of POTAC, Mr. Emmanuel Ajiman, said, with the conversion of some of the polytechnics into technical universities, there is the need to put in place the necessary infrastructure to allow the institutions function as such.
It is incumbent on us to ensure that we have the necessary equipment and infrastructure that will enable us function effectively as a technical university and deliver the deliverables which Ghana require in our efforts towards what? Innovation and development, and then improve the competitiveness of our country in the world market as we can see.
The Deputy Minister of Education in charge of tertiary education, Mr. Okujeto Ablakwa, touched on the books and research allowances and the Technical University Bill, which are yet to be put before Parliament.
We take note of the fact that the research fund bill has not been passed by Parliament yet. And we are cognizant of the agreement that we signed, that the status quo will remain until we are all set with the research fund, until it becomes law. Once it has not become law, we remain committed to the MOU that we agreed.
The new executives will serve for a 2-year term.
At a lecture to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the Ridge Church in Accra, Christians were admonished to remain focused on the teachings of Christ rather than allow themselves to be distracted by worldly pressures. Speaking on the theme, Fixing Our Eyes on Jesus, the face of the church in the contemporary world, a theologian at the Trinity Theological Seminary, Reverend Professor Samuel Jedu, encouraged Ghanaians to persevere in the race of life.
The Ridge Church is said to be the first ecumenical or interdenominational church in the world. In Ghana, the church was established in 1935 due to the kind of worship desired by a number of residents at Ridge in Accra. After 8 decades of winning souls for Christ, leaders of the church are optimistic that the Ridge Church is poised to do more to save mankind. The Dean of Graduate Studies at the Trinity Theological Seminary, Very Reverend Professor Kwabena Jedu, who delivered a lecture on the theme, Fixing Our Eyes on Jesus, encouraged Christians to trust in God in times of trouble rather than rely on their own understanding.
The reason why we are invited to fix our eyes on Jesus is first because Christians bear the identity of Christ. Secondly, the witness of the church, including Accra Ridge Church, is expected to consist of nothing but the proclamation of Jesus Christ as Lord. In fact, Jesus is Lord was the first creed of the early church, because in the midst of persecution and the coercion to recognize the lordship of the Roman emperor, Christians resolutely refused to recognize any other Lord apart from his imperial majesty, the Lord Jesus Christ. Whether it is used in situations of difficulty or happiness, it would seem to be that the reason, at least the most popular reason, why Jesus Christ appears so frequently in public images and on the lips of people is because it is a name associated with power, influence, and change.
A theologian who referred to the Hebrew scriptures also explained why Christians need to understand Jesus Christ.
In the past, God spoke to our forefathers through the prophets at many and in sundry ways. But in these last days, he has spoken to us by his Son, whom he appointed heir of all things, and through whom he made the universe. After providing purification for our sins, he sat down at the right hand of his majesty in heaven. So he became much superior to the angels, as the name he has inherited is superior to theirs. It is precisely because of the superiority of Christ that the book of Hebrews invites us to fix our thoughts and our eyes on him.
The lecture forms part of activities lined up for a year to commemorate the 80th anniversary celebration of the Ridge Church.
In other stories, Lack of proper and effective record keeping in public institutions still remain the bane of financial management and accountability of resources in the public sector. This was disclosed at the inauguration of an interim of the Archivist and Records Managers Association of Ghana in Accra. Mrs. Matilda Emisa Arthur charged the association to work hard to make institutions and individuals appreciate the role of archivists in nation building.
The aim of the Archivists and Record Managers Association of Ghana, ARMAG, is to mobilize all records and archives professionals to serve as a think tank, a pressure group, and an efficient and effective source of archival materials and information. The interim 7-member board of the association was outdoored to steer the affairs of the association. The first interim president of the Archivists and Records Managers Association of Ghana, Dr. Musa Adams, says they've been witnesses to various commissions of inquiries, such as the 2014 World Cup inquiry, down to the sole Commissioner for Judgment Debt and proceedings from Public Account Committee. According to him, there was a trend in all these cases, and that was lack of information to enable prosecutors to prove the inefficiencies and malfeasance in public institutions.
The aim of the association is to ensure or to propagate the need to manage records efficiently and with economy, so that when information is needed, it can be found.
The wife of the Vice President, Mrs. Matilda Emisa Arthur, encouraged members to avoid reinventing the wheel so as to enable Ghanaians appreciate their work.
As a professional librarian and a one-time president of Library Association, I know how we've battled to tell people what a librarian does in Ghana. And so, without frightening you, I know the uphill task you will have to convince Ghanaians, and sometimes even those you think should know what an archivist does. You have an uphill task to let people know who you are, what you can do, and what you will do. And therefore, the image problem is not one that is made up. You have really, from today, start working on who you are, selling yourself, and trying to erase what we have already of who an archivist is.
The Chief Director Officer of the Head of Civil Service, Madam Cynthia Asari-Bediako, charged the association to look beyond public records keeping and management by providing convincing services to all categories of organizations and individuals. On his part, the Deputy Auditor General, Mr. Johnson Ekwamwa Asiedu, emphasized that proper record keeping is crucial in national administration and accountability.
Time to take a break, and when we come back, business is next. Stay with us.
Hello again, it's Friday. Let's do business with some insurance news. My name is Morris Ogbete. The Managing Director of AFB Financial Services, Mr. Arnold Parker, says the housing deficit facing Ghana indicates that there are enormous opportunities in that particular sector. Mr. Parker made a statement when AFB took its turn at the Ghana Stock Exchange's Fact Behind the Figures program in Accra.
AFB Ghana is a financial services company that provides innovative consumer credit products. The company has a bouquet of products which include payroll loans, AFB direct loans, and smart cash loans for informal or market traders. The company recorded solid financial performance in 2015. Total assets stood at 91.50 million Ghana cedis. Total equity stood at 27.121 million cedis from 6.254 million Ghana cedis in 2014. Total debt reduced by 70%, with capital adequacy ratio increasing by 10%. According to the directors of AFB, they received additional equity injection of 23.5 million Ghana cedis in 2015. AFB currently distributes 47% of its loans towards education, 37% towards businesses, 8% towards housing, with 7% going to other sectors. The managing director of AFB, Mr. Arnold Parker, in an interview with GBC24 said They are negotiating with some mobile telecommunication companies to use their platform to provide loans to their clients.
What we've done is to do a lot of integration with the telcos. We've actually been able to come into agreements to start lending to the mobile money wallets. What it means is that if you are a Ghanaian, economically active, you have a mobile money wallet, your wallet is active, we should be able to lend you money because obviously you've shown with the activity on your wallet that you can actually repay a loan. So we think that with that would have actually given meaning to democratizing financial services, letting it be available to anyone who is economically active.
He also indicated that AFB will soon venture into the housing sector to provide affordable housing to Ghanaians.
It's a long-term objective. We think that given the success of our current products, we would want to look at a segment of the market and be able to meet that need as well. Now that segment is the housing market. I don't think that it's been done very well. And we think that we can carry our expertise in our current area into the housing market and possibly solve a lot of the need.
Management say, though the 2016 is very young, the company has already achieved 12.5% of the 2016 budget, while loans dispersed currently stands at 200% ahead of the target for the year.
And still in business, the president of the Ghana Employers Association, Mr. Terence Darko, says the cost of doing business in Ghana is on the high, and this makes it difficult for Ghanaian products to compete on the ECOWAS market. Ghana's inflation rate is about 19%, while interest rate is hovering around 35%.
The unpredictable and unstable nature of the macroeconomic environment, the influx of counterfeit products and illicit trade were two main issues that the employers want government to address. According to them, the unpredictable and unstable nature of the macroeconomic environment remain a challenge and called for policies that will make the business climate better. They applauded the relative stability in the currency market and stressed that if the trend continues, it will make planning, budgeting and forecasting easier. Touching on the IMF bailout, the association said it brings credibility to the implementation of the homegrown policy initiative. The president of the Ghana Employers Association, GEA, Mr. Terence Darko, urged the Finance Ministry to dialogue with the private sector to find strategies that will help address challenges that will emerge during the implementation of the IMF bailout program.
A conducive environment for doing business is critical to the success or otherwise of any business entity, more especially for the private sector. The current rate of inflation of about 19%, the latest is in fact 16.3, I believe, has significantly affected the cost of borrowing as interest rates hover around 30% and beyond. Access to credit is on the decline since businesses are competing with government for credit from the banks.
The Ghana Employers Association, GEA, is a national employers organization with members in all sectors of the economy.
And on the final day of the trading for the week, the pound sterling, euro and dollar all recorded an increase. On the international commodities market, light crude increased in price to sell at $33.74 a barrel. Cocoa also gained $24. Gold, however, lost $6.90 to close the day's trade at $1,231.30. Insurance news. In insurance news tonight, President of the Insurance Association of Ghana, Ivan Averire, is blaming insurance agents partly for the friction that exists between insurance companies and their clients. In an interview with GBC24, Mr. Averire noted that most insurance agents either missell or exaggerate the benefit of insurance policies to prospective clients. In most developed countries, insurance remains a necessity and the lifeblood of every sector of their economies. Although insurance comes with enormous benefits, the industry in West Africa and most African countries is fraught with lack of information, miscommunication and misconceptions. This has over the years resulted in friction between the insurer and the insured. Although there are positive stories about insurance, the negative narrative appears to be dominating.
After we've submitted all our documentation, claims becomes a problem. You go, they say go and come. You say go and come. I mean, after the go and come, and nobody will even call you and tell you, oh, come next week. They will tell you next week, come and check. You will come and go. They'll tell you it's not ready.
President of the Insurance Association of Ghana, Ivan Averire, blames the phenomenon partly on insurance agents.
Some of our agents, commissioned agents, go around selling some of these policies, and they may missell, and some of them also exaggerate the benefits that you are going to get. I do agree that there are some culprits like that, but generally, anyone who takes a life policy, directly from the companies is told what the thing covers and what it doesn't cover. Right? And sometimes we give you the documents. The documents are for you to go and look through, but you are too busy not wanting to read the document. You only pick up the document when one thing or the other happens.
The chief executive of SIC Life, Aaron Anafuri, believes insurance companies must take it upon themselves to explain insurance policies to their clients.
We should take the blame, because you see, if we come out to teach them what we do, by first of all educating them on the products, let them understand the product and let them understand the claims procedure. Once they buy into it, you have no problem. But then we don't even talk about the claims. We are talking about selling massively. Oh, when you buy this one, this is what will happen to you. When you buy this one, this will happen to you. We forget about the negative aspect.
To minimize the differences that exist between insurance companies and their clients, experts have called on prospective clients to read their policy document carefully and understand its content. We bring you some tidbits on getting a new insurance policy. Read your policy carefully. You should be aware that an insurance policy is a legal contract. It is written so your rights and responsibilities, as well as those of the insurance company, are clearly stated. When you purchase insurance, you will receive a policy. You should read that policy and make certain you understand its content. If you have questions about your insurance policy, contact your insurance agent for clarification. If you still have questions, turn to your state insurance department. And that was insurance news brought to you by SIC Live. News that continues right after this break. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the news, and this is the health segment brought to you by FBAC. FBAC blows your pain away. Ahead of the rainy season and against any possible outbreak of cholera in the country, the Japanese government has resourced the Ghana Red Cross Society with medical and relief items worth $650,000. The gesture falls under the Epidemic Preparedness and Community Resilience Building Project for Ghana.
Last year, scores of people lost their lives due to the cholera outbreak which hit the capital Accra and some parts of the country. Health facilities were bursting at their seams due to inadequate emergency materials. The outbreak was partly due to the filth and unhygienic nature of the surroundings. The Ghana Red Cross Society serves a major complementary role to the country's emergency response team in fighting some of these epidemics. The latest presentation by the Japanese government is under the Epidemics Preparedness and Community Resilience Building Project. The society received a warehouse equipped with materials to fight against any epidemic in the country. Items include personal protection gear, medical supplies, hygiene kits, water and sanitation facilities. The water and sanitation facilities have the capacity to serve affected communities of any epidemic with poor water system for a duration of 6 months.
The Japanese government is proud to be involved in efforts at prevention, early detection, management and control of these diseases. An outbreak of disease is a threat to human and economic development in affected countries.
We should be grateful to them. I would only add that we are putting up this structure, the head office, which will coordinate all the things that we've done. We are now at the ground floor stage. In case there's any extra budget for us, we can add on.
The head of the International Federation of Societies Red Cross and Crescent for West Africa, Mr. Zakaria Issa, was appreciative for the gesture, which he called timely. In addition, the Japanese government also provided 2 Toyota Land Cruisers and 10 motors to assist in effective service delivery.
4 years ago, the Public Health Act was passed by Parliament to regulate the use of tobacco and its products, but it is yet to be fully implemented. The absence of the legislative instrument required to make it functional poses a risk to the youth who are easily lured and addicted to tobacco and its products. Globally, the WHO estimates that tobacco-related deaths exceeds 1 billion annually. A report by Cyril Furi.
Ghana is signatory to the World Health Organization Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. It is the world's first global public health treaty to reduce the devastating health and economic impact of tobacco. It requires all tobacco products packaging to have effective health warning labels on them to caution against the harmful impacts of tobacco use. The enactment of the Public Health Act 851/2012 further prohibits smoking in public places, a ban on tobacco advertisements and sponsorship, as well as age restriction, among others. Snooping around, there was evidence of compliance by tobacco companies. The cost of a stick of cigarettes at 40 pesos makes it very affordable to a minor. Depending on taste, one could also get a pack which contains 20 sticks or 4 to 6 CDs. Shisha smoking is another trend fast catching up among the youth. Some people gather for shisha smoking sessions at cafes, bars, and some do it at home without knowing the true effects of the habit on their health. Alarmed by all these, stakeholders against the abuse of tobacco and its products convened to deliberate on how to speed up the drafting of the legislative instrument to be approved by Parliament.
Our pregnant women, our mothers, the innocent unborn child suffering the effects, fetal tobacco syndrome, or anybody passing by secondhand smoking. Definitely, I don't think we can let that go. So you need to see how we can do more.
You can see all over the place. You cannot smoke in this place. We didn't have that before, right? But is that sufficient, adequate to give us the protections we need? We don't think so. So there are other clear, important things we are pushing for in legislation, and this can only be done if the full process, the full legislative process is concluded and enacted.
The head of Tobacco and Substance Abuse at the Foods and Drugs Authority, Mrs. Olivia Jekumwa Boateng, says the formulation of the final draft of the legislative instrument has been met by constraints. The need for a multi-sectorial collaborative effort by stakeholders was resounding. This is to ensure effective implementation of the tobacco control measures and its sanctions. Cyril Furi, GBC24, Accra.
And that's it for the health segment. The health segment of the news was brought to you by FPAC. FPAC blows your pain away. We'll be back shortly.
Now, some international stories. The 5 African leaders representing the African Union are in Burundi to push for a mediation process to end the crisis over President Pierre Nkurunziza's repeated terms in office. President Jacob Zuma of South Africa, Mohamed Abdelaziz of Mauritania, Macky Sall of Senegal, Ali Bongo Ondimba of Gabon, and Ethiopian Prime Minister arrived in Burundi on Thursday to meet with President Nkurunziza and civil society groups. The visit comes days after UN Chief Ban Ki-moon visited the troubled country to try to hammer out a deal to prevent the political conflict from escalating into a wider conflict. At least 400 people have died in violent street protests, an attempted military coup, and attacks from rebel groups since April, when the country was thrown into turmoil after Nkurunziza's candidacy was announced. More than 220,000 people have fled the country. Earlier in the day, GBC24 spoke with a former medical chief of the UN in Burundi on the situation in that country, and that was Dr. Chega.
Do you think a deal will be reached anytime soon? It's because it's been 10 months of conflict.
A deal will be reached, but I don't think on this visit will help clarify the heart and the mind of the President Nkurunziza. But mind you, the people around him. A lot of time people don't know that it's not an individual who rules. He rules with people. And so this meeting will help clarify him, even if he wants to. And he now can now go and say the AU has come, UN has come, and therefore those who are around me, we have to do this, we have to do this. Because the sticking point is the inability of those around him and himself to agree with some of the people who they consider as part of those who wanted to overthrow him last year to be part of the process. I think that is the main. So if they can get a guarantee that they can handle those people from the AU, then I think a solution will come. But I'm not sure that on these visits. He makes promises to the UN Secretary General. But if you listen to the chairman of the CNR-ERD, the group opposing him, they
So Kokwa Kuchere in that interview with Dr. Chega. We take a break, and when we come back, sports is next. Stay.
Evening by kindness of Ejapias, Tornado Bitters and Lunat. Let's talk sports. I'm Theophilus Sampa. We go straight to Switzerland, where Italian Gianni Infantino has been elected the new president of FIFA, succeeding the ban Sepp Blatter. UEFA General Secretary Infantino received 115 votes in the second round of voting, more than the required majority of 104 votes from the 207 members. UEFA General Secretary replaces Ban Blatter at the helm of football's world's governing body FIFA. The other favourite, Sheikh Salman bin Ibrahim Al Khalifa of Bahrain, had 88 votes. Prince Ali bin Al Hussein of Jordan had 4, and Frenchman Jérôme Champagne none. The 45-year-old former lawyer saluted voters before starting his acceptance speech.
A journey which made me meet many fantastic people. Many people who love football, who live football, who breathe football every day. And many people who deserve that FIFA is highly respected. And we will restore the image of FIFA and the respect of FIFA. And everyone in the world will applaud us, and will applaud all of you for what we'll do in FIFA.
We have the president of the Sports Writers Association of Ghana, SWAG, Mr. Kobnaibwa, on the line to just touch on what really this election really means to especially Africa, as they were looking out for bin Salman to be carried as the president. So, writer, if you're on the line, good evening. Hello, writer. Writer, if you're on the line, good evening.
Good evening.
Now, tell me, were you surprised at the turn of voting?
Yes and no. In the afternoon, we had a discussion. I did indicate that it was obvious we would have a second round, and it was going to be between Gianni Infantino and Salman Khalifa. So in that regard, it didn't surprise me. The second round surprised me a bit, especially if you know the first round result. I mean, 88, 85. The fact that Khalifa increased his votes by only 3% surprises me a bit. I thought it was going to be more than that. But Infantino, clearly, between the two, they were the front runners. But from an African perspective, I thought Africa was going to deliver the entire 54 votes. But it's obvious from the results that one or two or a few of the African candidates must have voted for Gianni Infantino.
And so what does this really mean for Africa?
Well, first of all, let us hope and believe that Infantino would really stick to his statements during his campaign, that indeed he is there for the whole of the world and not just for Europe. You know, he's a Swiss Italian, and the Europeans were fully behind him. Don't also forget that the fact that England did not win the 2022 World Cup and it went to Qatar really upset them. And it started all these reforms and what some would want to refer to as a revolution in FIFA and all the trouble associated with that. So we're hoping that it will be a precedent for the entire world and not just Europe, gravitate towards Europe. But from an African perspective, I'm hopeful and confident that indeed Africa would continue to get maximum support from FIFA as they did during the tenure of Sepp Blatter. I will be very, very disappointed if that wasn't to be the case, you know. And I also pray and hope that the candidacy of Qatar would not be tampered with, because there are fears that indeed a new FIFA president could take a second look at how the voting patterns went and how Qatar, you know, were giving the hosting rights. I hope that would also not be tampered. Now, fortunately for us, the reform procedure has already been set in motion. What it means is that Infantino's job is being made quite easier, because before the elections, you know, the reform procedures were all voted on. So he would only be there to implement the reforms. And I do hope that indeed, as he indicated, what really, really gladdens my heart is the fact that, number one, there's going to be a term limit for the new FIFA president, beyond 3 terms of 4 years each. You can't go beyond that. The issue of governance is being straightened. The judicial bodies are going to be given total independence, you know, and again, instead of an executive committee of only 24 members, it's been expanded. So the reforms have already been set in motion. Infantino is only going to superintend it and hope to execute it. So we just hope and pray that he will live up to his word and truly live for football. At the end of the day, we want football to be the winner.
Thank you very much, writer. So you've been hearing from the president of the Sports Writers Association of Ghana, Mr. Kobnaiwa, on the new president for FIFA. That's been sport.
Good evening. Time for some art news. My name is Valerie Danso. Waiting upon God to inspire you with lyrics and not the financial gain should be the driving force behind every gospel music composed. This was said by gospel artist Rosa J and Ohineba Clement in an interview here on GBC24.
When you're an upcoming artist, to find yourself on a big platform, it's very difficult.
When I was about to come out with an album, it was difficult.
Stir Up the Love, Stir Up the Love. I picked Stir Up the Love with my management and with the Presbyterian Church of Tema Community 9, just to bring peace, love. I believe in one thing, that whenever worship goes up, His glory descends. So we should come together and worship at Tema Community 9 Redemption Presby.
Okay.
Tema Community 9 Redemption Presby.
Okay. When?
It's Saturday, 27th of February. The time is 4 p.m. sharp.
May